Arsenal set up Emery reunion, Haaland's insane wage demands, Varane in United talks a transfer roundup, and today's Friday Feels all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host Matt Froelich, you are the One Footballers, and this is the Daily News. So first up, an Arsenal set up a reunion with former coach Unai Emery in the semi-finals of the Europa League after a fantastic 4-0 win against Slavia Prague. Honestly, complete hats off to Arsenal. They were brilliant. They showed great attacking intent, especially the likes of Smith Rowe and Bukayo Saka, who were brilliant. And even after having a goal disallowed in the first few minutes, they still kept up this intensity and went to be 3-0 up by like the 24th or 25th minute, I think. It was such a good performance and really showing good signs of progress from Mikel Arteta. It now sees them through to the semi-final of the competition. And honestly, after the 1-1 draw last week, you would have thought it's difficult. Of course it's difficult. You're in the quarterfinals of European competition. So to go and win 4-0 after Lacazette doubled his tally in the second half sort of made it look like a really easy game on the face of it. Probably because Arsenal was so good. That's the kind of score you'd expect in the group stage or in one of the qualification rounds. But anyway, Arsenal are through, and they will, of course, like I said, meet former coach Unai Emery, who is now in charge of Villarreal. That is because the Spanish side made it through past Dinamo Zagreb with a 2-1 victory last night, meaning they won 3-1 overall. And as for Unai Emery, he knows his competition better than most managers on the planet. Having won it 3 times with Sevilla, made it to the final with Arsenal where they lost to Chelsea and Baku a couple of years ago, he knows exactly how to get his teams there and to take the trophy home. But of course, it is a rather daunting opposition in the form of Arsenal, who I think at the moment and on current form are probably going to be favourites heading into this tie. The one bad news of the night actually for Mikel Arteta's men was that Aubameyang has contracted malaria, so may be out for quite some time. In the other semi-final though, Manchester United have made it, and this one isn't too much of a surprise. They beat Granada comfortably last week, they beat Granada comfortably this week, so that sees them through to the semi-finals. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is hoping to reach the first final of his Manchester United career, and the first final that they've reached since they won the Europa League back in 2017 under Jose Mourinho. But their opponents will be Roma, and there is a fantastic story behind their victory over Ajax. Last week, Rome had a brilliant 2-1 victory away at Ajax, and even though Ajax took the lead last night, it looked like they were going to be heading through on away goals until Edin Dzeko scored, and it meant confirmed that Roma would be heading through to the semi-finals. But here is where the story gets interesting. So 3 years ago, Riccardo Calafiori, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, was a 15-year-old left-back in the Roma youth team, and he had quite a serious injury during a game. That following week, Edin Dzeko scored a hat-trick in the Champions League and dedicated his goal to the 15-year-old who was injured. And now, 3 years later, that same player is in the first team and provided the assist for Dzeko's goal last night that saw them through to the semi-final of the Europa League. There's so many twists and turns and different subplots in that story. I absolutely love it, and I'm all here for it. And of all the negative news in football, I'm so glad we get to talk about something positive. Right, moving on then, and to quite mind-blowing, extraordinary numbers, and that is apparently Erling Haaland's demands should he move in the summer for his wages. Apparently, he wants what is equivalent to just under 3 million euros per month, around 35 million euros per year, and something ridiculous like 750,000 euros per week. Honestly, the reason I think for this, and I blame Kylian Mbappe, and I also blame Neymar. The reason being, Neymar is on 35 million euros per week. Neymar is on 35 million euros per year as a salary at PSG. Now, Kylian Mbappe, seeing his importance to PSG in relation to Neymar, obviously wants the same if he's to sign a new contract. And therefore, because of the whole Messi versus Ronaldo, and the next Messi versus Ronaldo is supposedly, according to the media, Kylian Mbappe versus Erling Haaland, whatever Kylian Mbappe gets, Erling Haaland, maybe not him, but probably his agent Mino Raiola, is probably whispering in his ear, wait a minute, if you're one half of this rivalry, and this is what Mbappe earns because of Neymar, then this is what you should be earning as well. It's a domino effect, and it's seeing just such an insane amount of money. I don't even know what Erling Haaland was making a couple of years ago when he signed for RB Salzburg. My guess is he was earning between 5,000 and 10,000 euros per week in Austria. Maybe 5,000 euros per week, something like that. Anyway, 2 years later, he's an unbelievable forward, one of the best in the world. Do not get me wrong, but what an insane jump to 750k. And the one thing I will say, I have no issue with how much money footballers earn. It's a supply and demand thing. If everyone wants to watch football and everyone pumps their money into the sport and there's a lot of money spare and teams want to buy the best players, the players can't really be blamed for taking the money when it's offered to them. However, if Haaland is to have such ridiculous wage demands that even the teams that he actually wants to play for, apparently Real Madrid, can't even afford him, what's he doing? Like, imagine pricing yourself out of your own sport that you enjoy playing. Doesn't really make sense to me, in all honesty, because if, like we've been told, that those wage demands are true on a 5-year deal, that's around 175 million euros, or maybe a little bit more. On top of this, you've got commission from agents, and Mino Raiola likes to take a big fat commission. And on top of this, we haven't even started to discuss the actual transfer fee that it's going to cost. Bringing Haaland in for any club this summer is probably going to be, when all things considered, over 400 million euros, and that's just not going to happen. Anyway, moving on to a deal that's going to cost a considerably lesser amount of money than 400 million euros, but still, in today's market, quite a lot of money, and that is the deal taking Raphael Varane to Manchester United. Apparently, the club are rather interested in the centre-back, and they have had a few encouraging words that he is willing to leave Real Madrid. And this, for me, throws up so many questions because it seems that nobody has any clue what's going on in Real Madrid's defensive line. As for Manchester United, somehow they've managed to make this Lindelof-Maguire central defensive partnership work, but in an ideal world, I think they'd probably prefer to pair Varane with Maguire. As for Real Madrid, because of necessity, Nacho has played more than necessary this season and has been very good, which throws a bit of a spanner in the works because no one would really have him as the starting centre-back. Not because he can't, because he can, because we've seen he clearly can do it, but he's just not a big name, and certainly throughout the last few years at Real Madrid, he's taken that squad player role. Anyway, he's done well. Militao's been forced into the centre, done a pretty good job as well. We don't know whether Sergio Ramos is going to sign a new deal. Varane looks like he might be leaving. Who else is there? There's David Alaba, who could potentially join the club. Apparently, he has signed a pre-contract agreement, but it won't be announced just yet. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Real Madrid at central defence, so if they're so happy to lose Raphael Varane at the moment, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I know his contract runs out in 2022, but when you look at all the defenders, I think Nacho's a squad player. I think Eder Militao hasn't made it yet, certainly to his full potential. Sergio Ramos is 34, maybe 35. Who else is there? Raphael Varane, despite the fact his contract is running out, is in his prime years, I think he's 28 years old, is probably their best defender alongside Sergio Ramos. So why out of all of them they're going to let him go? I don't know. Real Madrid fans, you guys let me know in the comment section below. Manchester United fans, how excited would you be if you managed to bring him in? One more name though, because we'll throw a load of defensive names out of there. If Varane does leave, apparently Real Madrid have Jules Koundé, the Sevilla defender, on their radar, but who doesn't? He's a brilliant defender. Pretty much every team in Europe who wants a brand new centre-back is looking at him. Moving on then to the transfer roundup and some of the news that you might have missed recently. And Alessio Romagnoli is on the transfer target list of Barcelona should they let Samuel Umtiti go in the summer. Elsewhere, in 14 years after leaving Watford, they are now preparing to offer a 1-year contract to Inter Milan's Ashley Young to see him return to the club. Elsewhere, and Carlo Ancelotti is open to listening to offers for out on loan striker Moise Kean. And lastly but not least, Karim Benzema is this close to signing a new deal at Real Madrid, which will see him through to the end of the 2022-2023 season. Okay then, finally we come to this week's Friday Feels. This is where you guys leave your footballing predictions in the comment section down below, and we read out a few of the correct ones on Monday. A massive weekend of football. I say that every week, I just get excited about the weekend's football. First off, there's a massive FA Cup semi-final between Manchester City and Chelsea. Both teams are in pretty good form. Both teams are on a high after getting through to the semi-finals of the Champions League. The record, though, for Chelsea against Manchester City at Wembley is terrible. I think they've met 3 times in various competitions and have lost all 3 of them. So giving that form and the form Man City are in, I'm going to say Manchester City are going to edge it just 2-1. Elsewhere, and there is a Copa del Rey final. Not last year's Copa del Rey final, it was played a few weeks ago, but this season's Copa del Rey final in Spain. And I think Athletic Bilbao are going to end up 1-0 losers, unfortunately, to Barcelona. And finally, in the Bundesliga, I think it's going to be a bit of a shock for league leaders Bayern Munich, as they're going to go down 2-1 to Wolfsburg. That's all from me then today. Make sure you check out everything else we've got going on. Have a great weekend, and until next time, I will see you guys later.